Hi, my name is Tate. I'm with Black Bear Outdoors, and we've had a very interesting thing happen here just recently. We've had our vice president come out and say that he is going to encourage our president to do an executive order to ban assault rifles in this country. First of all, assault rifles have already been banned. Assault rifles are guns that if you pull the trigger can be fired more than one time per trigger pull. So fully automatic weapons are assault rifles. What we have left in this country, or they're available to be used to the common public and are being sold at gun stores now, are semi-automatic weapons. If I pull the trigger, it fires one time. Okay? And some of you are going to say, well, why do we need any kind of gun that can shoot more than rounds if you're just going to hunt with it? Well, I would lead you to the Second Amendment of the Constitution of our country. Now, if you become a citizen of our country, you, at that point, are asked to find out what is the first question they ask you is, what is the law of the land? And the law of the land is the Constitution, okay? We cannot infringe upon the Constitution. And the Supreme Court upheld that law when they talked about Washington, D.C.'s ban on pistols. Said that, and I'm going to paraphrase, so please don't call me and tell me that I said it wrong or whatever, but the basic gist of it was that if you have made a law that is against the Constitution, or in this case against the Second Amendment, it is null and void. It is not a law. So going off those terms, what do we live by? The Constitution. And what is the Constitution for? There's one simple answer to that question. Everybody should be able to answer it. If you read the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, or the amendments to the Constitution, which means it can be changed. There's amendments to the Constitution. It can be done. If you don't like it, change it. Fight for it. Do it that way. Do not do it behind everybody's back in a presidential order. That is wrong, against the Constitution, and in my opinion would be almost treasonous. Then you sit there and you say, okay, what is the Constitution for? It is to protect you from your government. That is what the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were written to be done. It was written at a time when we were under a tyrannical government that was trying to take us out. And we fought back and made the Bill of Rights and the Constitution saying what our rights are. And the second one on there is the rights of the people, not the rights of the military, not the rights of the, militia, not the rights of the, the police or any of these other organizations out there to bear arms. The rights of the people shall not be infringed. It is written nowhere else in the Constitution it uses that wording of shall not be infringed, period. Now, but let's see, I didn't really get to here to really talk about anything else besides fact. The fact of it is that we went onto the FBI website. The FBI website, you can look this up, for 2011 murder rates in America. And that's including all 50 states, including Alaska, Hawaii, everything. Okay, so they've gone and they've actually done a study to find out what did the most murders in 2011. Now, I grant you it's 2011 and we're just starting 2013 and they haven't come out with their predictions for 2012 yet. The first one is, let's take and look at how many murders were actually, and this is all types of murders, handguns, rifles, shotguns, unknown weapons, knives, things like that. So not just guns, all murders in America right now is 12,664 murders. So still bad. Don't get me wrong. Still bad, but not what they're talking about where kids are being murdered in the street left and right and everybody's dying and everybody's being riddled full of holes. Then let's go to our first thing. So almost half of that number is done by handguns. Okay? 6,220 people were murdered with handguns. Okay? Then we go to our second one, the assault rifles, supposed assault rifles, or rifles in general. Now, they do not base it on assault rifles. I'm going to go ahead and say that these are all assault rifles. They killed everybody with an AR or a Mini 14 or an AK or whatever you want to call it. All the murders that were committed with rifles. 323 rifles. Now, we've done some rough estimates, and I'm not a math expert, but I've done some rough figuring on basically the population. I didn't have exact population dates for that time or anything like that. Roughly, that's 0.0000, that's 4 zeros, 892% of the population was murdered with an assault rifle. Okay? Then let's go to the next one. Shotguns. Things that we're not worried about at all right now, which can be used for duck hunting and everything else. We have 356 murders were done with shotguns. More than the assault rifles. Okay? The next one, unknown guns. These are guns where we don't know what they were because the people were murdered and they weren't able to find the weapon or something like that. 1,684 people were murdered. That is 5 times the assault weapons rate. If we're saying that rifles were assault weapons, which I'm saying they're not. Then we go to knives. People that were actually stabbed and murdered by knives or bladed objects. That could be hatchets, machetes, all things that are not regulated at all. Okay? 1,694 people were murdered with knife-type bladed weapons. That is 5 times more than rifles. Then we have other weapons, which meaning bats, clubs, whatever. And that was 1,659 people were murdered with clubs, bats, some other type of weapon. That could be a car, I don't know. It didn't exactly specify. And you can find this on the FBI website's Table 20. Okay? And it is right on their website. So this is not something that's coming off, one of the other things. Go look at this. Look it up. Other weapons were 5 times more likely to murder somebody than a rifle. 5 times. Here's my favorite. And I mean that in the worst way. In the terms of that this is the one that really doesn't make any sense at all. Being beaten to death. 728 people in America were murdered by being beaten to death. It is no joke. It's not a joking matter, and I don't mean it to mean that way. That is 2 times more likely than assault rifles. Now, I have people that come to me and say, well, why do you need an assault rifle or a semi-automatic rifle, which is what we're actually talking about. Remember, assault weapons were banned years ago. Okay? You look at it and you say, okay, what's the deal with that? Well, if you look at the Constitution, it is talking about protection from tyranny. If you go to World War II, they had the Emperor of China after he bombed Pearl Harbor. They came to him and some of the generals and said, hey, we need to attack America now. And he said, and again I'm going to paraphrase in a horrible way, so this is not anywhere near what he exactly said, but he basically said that there would be a gun behind every American, that we would not win. Okay? We have the largest military in the world in the population of America. This keeps tyranny or a tyrannical government from taking over. That's what the Constitution stated in the Second Amendment. If you do not like that, that is fine. You can do one of 2 things. Choose the Constitution, or change the Constitution, or get out of our country. Those are your 2 options. Both of those are doable. We have amendments to the Constitution, and you can leave anytime you want. Until then, the Constitution is the law of the land, and it is set up to protect you from your government. Okay? That's all the Constitution does. Read it, people. Go home. You can look it up on Google. Read the Constitution and the amendments that were made. It is to protect you from your government. Tell every friend you have, whether they believe in guns or not. And like I just said, there is no evidence to back up gun control lowering crime. Because if you look at, just go to the studies done on Washington, D.C. Go to look at where a lot of these crimes are happening. They're not happening in gun stores. They're not happening in, military bases. They're happening in areas where they ban weapons to be carried on campus, on schools, churches, movie theaters, the areas where they were hopefully not going to have any of these problems. And keep in mind, it is illegal to carry where the actual guns were banned, where the movie theater was, the movie theater massacre. Guns were not allowed to be carried in that state. He was almost guaranteed there was nobody there to stop it. And if you start looking at the statistics, police are not stopping these people. It is a very small amount. It is the population that steps in and tackles the guy and takes him out. We're talking almost 80% of the time, a civilian did the job. Your best case scenario is that the police in most towns, the best they do is 3 minutes to your house. A shooting takes seconds, not minutes. You need the right to protect your family and yourself. And whether I need a 10-round clip or not to do that is not for anybody to question, in the fact of that what if there's more than one attacker? You have the right to carry it, and if you don't want to carry it, I'm not saying you have to. Even though some of the towns in the United States have set there and mandated that you have a firearm in your home. And yet that's not being enforced, but they have very low crime there. One of the countries with the least amount of crime is Switzerland. So just keep that in mind. And if you guys have any questions, please put comments down at the bottom and spread this out to your friends. This is actual facts. Assault rifles are not killing people. Guns don't kill people. If that was the case, all of my guns are broken because they've never killed anybody. So you tell me where it's okay for people to take away your rights. Remember the one just before that. The First Amendment is talking about freedom of religion, freedom of speech. We'll give that one up next. But, like I said, leave comments, pass this out to your friends, and ask them, what is the Constitution for? To protect you from tyranny. And as always, have a great day.